Welcome to the Thought Brothers. Today is November 8th, 2023. I'm Gary Johnson, a.k.a. Mr. Producer. And yes, I like Whitney Houston. We'll talk about that maybe on some other show. But tonight, we're going to throw it over to the banker man. We have our special guest correspondent co-host, CJ. We got our regular lead co-host, Bill Spivey. Banker man Carlos, what are we talking about this evening?
Hey, well, hello, everybody. Hello, Gary. Hello, Mr. Spivey. Hello, CJ. Hey, look.
Hello, Carlos.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to keep up with current events, fellas. I mean, I've been believing all season, and I believed through 3 games to get the season started. And the question is, do I still believe? But I still believe in Coach Prime out there. Go ahead, Gary, get them glasses.
I got to get the glasses.
In Coach Prime out in the University of Colorado, leading them Buffaloes. How about you guys, man? Well, they didn't lost about 4 out of 5 games or something to that 4 out of 6 games or something crazy.
Hey, look, when I go out, I wear my glasses like this now. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I'll tell you this. Just remember this, guys. I think Mr. Spivey said it best. Colorado won 1 game last year. They got off to a 3-0 start. Yes, they could have won a couple more games. I mean, you can't be up on somebody with 29-0 and lose. I mean, you shouldn't. But anyway, Coach Deion, I think, is still built. He's brought a lot of excitement to Colorado, University of Colorado. And, I think it's only going to continue to build. So, we're probably looking at, he's trying to get bowl eligible at this point. And, I see him catapulting. I thought at first that we were going to see, a 10-2 or 9-3 season. I think I had 3 games, now that I think about it, that was questionable. And I was worried about Oregon and USC. And I was worried about, I think, one more game against, Utah at the end of the season. I think they're ranked. Utah is ranked. So, but obviously he lost a couple more in there. But I think the key is, he's brought excitement to Colorado. He's brought excitement to college football. We're going to see. We're going to see. So what do you guys takes on prime time out in Colorado? What's going on? What you got?
Well,
go ahead, y'all.
As I said in the beginning, Deion won more than 1 game. He's already a success. Deion has won 3 games. And it really bothers me that, after they won the first game, Deion was the hottest thing in America. And they were all over, and the press was talking about it. Then he won the second game. And then the third game, I mean, he was on top of the world. And so, he loses a few games. And all of a sudden, now, they're saying he should have left. I read an article today, and they're saying he shouldn't even have left Jackson State. He's not even qualified to be at Colorado. So, I guess the hype changes. What is that old saying? What have you done for me lately? So he's done lost a few games. And, if you don't like Deion being at Colorado, you can always go back and get the coach you had last year. And you win and go, and maybe you might not even win 1 game the next year. But I think Deion is trying to build something. And I said it last week. I think he's going to build something. And I think Deion will be a force to be reckoned with. Now, the thing of it is, and I was listening to Undisputed earlier today, and what they're talking about is, will he stay at Colorado? They believe that if he has a successful year next year, there's a possibility, he may move on to the NFL. I'm in agreement with something that Richard Sherman said, that Deion's place is at Colorado because he's teaching young men, he's developing young men. When you go into the NFL, a lot of the players are making twice of what the coach is making. So you can't tell these players what to do. You're dealing with grown men. But I believe Deion he's did a fantastic job because, as I said last week, he kept 1 player from that 1-11 team, and that was that kid Wood, and I think he's a middle linebacker. So this guy had to take 65 players off of the portal and some of them are high school players that graduated that he brought in, and he's developed a team that won 3 games compared to the year before 1 game. So I think Deion, I think next year he'll be back on top, and the same ones that's talking bad about him now that was praising him 4 games ago or 5 games ago, they'll be praising him again. So I don't put much, credence in these podcasts where they blow you up 1 week and shoot you down the next.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, give him a little more credit. I think he's got 4 games in, and I'm checking on that right now. But brother CJ, what you got on that, man? What's going on?
I don't have much to add. You guys hit the nail on the head. Basically, they won 1 game last year. So, like I said, I'm thinking maybe like 4 games is considered a successful season. Like you get like 4 games, like you said, you have to replace an entire team. Anybody that knows college football or how it works, you can't. There's no free agency. You can't just replenish a team in 1 year. It takes 2 to 3 years to get several draft classes. Deion said it himself. He's got to get more. If you don't have the good enough players, you're not going to beat Oregon. You're not going to beat USC. You're not going to beat these teams that are stacked that have 5-star recruits that are their 3rd string players. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just takes time. And once he gets the talent, he'll be just fine. Like, I don't think there's any interest in him going to the league. I think he's like, as you said, he's perfect where he is right now. Build Colorado into a juggernaut, and that'll take a few years and then take it from there. And then he'll have, more options. But college football is still insanely racist. I mean, there's still not even that many black coaches in the entire nation of how many Division I schools and 1A schools. And then we already know how the NFL is with black coaches. So there's already a few and far between still in the year 2023 of black coaches. And it's still a very, very hard job to maintain.
Hey.
Carlos, one other thing
sir.
I want to bring up. These guys were just waiting in the wings to jump on Deion. Because Deion, he's got that bravado, he's got the flash, he's called prime. And so once he started losing, and there was a word going around, I think it was around the 3rd game, and you talked about it earlier, I think last week, about it's hard for a team to get ready against you when they don't have film to look at. And after 3 games, they had film on Deion. And I believe the word was when they played USC that the coach had gotten a lot of pointers from other college coaches as to how to beat Deion. So, they have been waiting for Deion to fall because of, his flash and that type of thing. But another thing that has crossed my mind, they can continue to dog Deion and continue to talk about how bad he is. A lot of these players on these other teams, they're going to be looking to come to Colorado to back up Deion. Because what was that ATN that played for Jacksonville? What did he tweet to his brother who's at Florida State? Maybe you want to call Coach Prime.
How about that? How about that?
So I think a lot of them in the off season will be knocking on Deion's door.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is for Colorado is this. You're looking at a situation where, he had 2 successful seasons at Jackson State. So that led to him going to Colorado. Now, by him not having, if he had went, like you said, 11-1 this year, 12-1 with a bowl victory, would he even stay at Colorado? So I think the good news is for the people of Colorado, they get Coach Prime again for at least 1 more year. And Gary, you just mentioned it. What happens, will he leave for the NFL? He has a great season next year. I think Coach Prime has always been about the dollar bill. I think that, he does not dislike money. Okay. And not to say any of us do dislike money, but if he has an opportunity where someone says, hey, I'm making X here at Colorado, and if you come to the NFL, I'm going to pay you X, I think he's going to probably take it. Now, again, the good news is he's coming back at Colorado next year. He can build a team. He's going to have great recruits, and I expect Colorado to thrive. So what are you guys' thoughts on that take?
Let me just jump in here before we shift topics and piggyback off of the stuff that Bill was talking about regarding the haters. Let me quote the great philosopher, Cat Williams. Cat Williams said, haters hate. Let them do their job. And I'll leave it at that. Next topic. Where are we?
Come on, man. You know we got to talk about Washington. We got to talk about Dallas. We got to talk about Bill Belichick up in New England. Let's start with the Washington Commanders. Hey, they traded with Montez Sweat, one of their star defensive linemen, for a third-round pick to the Chicago Bears. They traded Chase Young, star defensive end, first-round pick a couple years ago, to San Francisco 49ers for a third-round pick. I'm trying to figure out what was going on, man. What's happening here? But maybe the new owner, Josh Harris, who just hired a capologist, I think that's a word, capologist, okay? To try to balance out the budget and get money free so they can get players. He got rid of 2 players who had contracts that were expiring that were going to cost them a lot of money next year. And what did the Commanders do? They went out, won the game this past week, and allowed the least amount of points all season without their 2 superstars. Maybe the new owner knows something I don't know, man. What's you guys take on that?
Well, they played the Patriots, so let's not get crazy. let's not.
CJ, don't start beating the drums.
Yeah,
let's keep it in perspective.
Yeah, it's like the Patriots have one of the worst offenses. Like I said this on, like, I'm vindicated because I'm one of the biggest Mac Jones haters. I said it day one when he was drafted. I was like, I don't know what the hell they are doing drafting Mac Jones. He don't look like a first-round talent to me, and he is panned that out as one of the worst starting quarterbacks. I know New England fans, like, they're ready to toss him in a dumpster. Like, they are done with Mac Jones, and we saw why on this mediocre Commanders defense that was giving up 30-something points a game. Still got no pass rush. They had no sacks. They had no pressure without their rushers this week, but they still were able because Mac Jones can't hit the sky with he can't hit anything. Like, he is terrible. And they have no receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster. They have a washed-up Ezekiel Elliott and some running backs. Like, it's a mess. Like, it's not the glory days anymore in New England. For the Commanders aspect, like, they did what they're supposed to do, beat an inferior team, kind of hang in there. Like, they're not the worst roster in the league. So, I would be tanking for a draft pick, but I'm kind of over this Rivera era of mediocrity. So even if he makes his regular Ron Rivera run in the middle of the season, we might win 7 games, whoop-de-doo, and okay. So again, I'm okay with trading Sweat and trading Chase Young because, again, we saw how much Sweat just got paid. I ain't paying that for a 30th ranked defense. We giving up all them points with Sweat and Young. I'm not paying him $90 million to give up 35 points a game. Same thing with Chase Young. He hasn't showed up. You could say it's because of the injuries. You could say it's because of whatever other stuff that's come out in the last couple of days behind the scenes. His dad calling in on sports radio to defend him, and some of his stuff talking about he's with winners now in San Francisco. It's like, what you mean? What you mean you with winners now? Like, you just got there, dog. Like, just chill. Like, you've been there for 5 minutes. But
San Francisco's on a slide also.
Yeah. So, the Commanders are the Commanders. They're going to do Commander stuff. I'm just waiting for Ron Rivera to get fired so I can care again because they're just going to be locked in mediocrity with the regime they have now.
Hey, guys, I just want to let you know I got 2 texts before the show started tonight. One text came from Montez Sweat. He said, send my regards to Washington. Thank them several times because they just sent me someplace where I got a guaranteed contract. He just got paid. He's saying he loves Washington. He loves the whole organization for sending him to Chicago. He said, thank you several times. And then I got a text from Tom Brady who said, I told you so. And that's all he said. He just said, I told you so. So I guess that refers to Bill Belichick not winning anything since Tom Brady left. So Montez Sweat is happy. Tom Brady, in a weird way, is happy. When are we going to be happy in Washington? Is he going to take a Thanksgiving Day victory over the Cowboys? Somebody talk to me about Dakota. What's going on?
Well, the only thing I will say about that is Dallas lost to Philadelphia, but nobody can debate that wasn't a good game. And I will say this: if Dakota plays against Washington and Thanksgiving Day, the way he played against Philly, Washington does not have a chance in hell of beating Dallas. As for Washington, I've said it before, and I'll continue to say, I don't understand their logic with any of the trading or recruiting. It makes absolutely no sense. And I agree with CJ totally. They got rid of Dan Snyder, and they should have sent Ron Rivera packing right along with him. And they need to send the defensive coordinator packing right along with him also. They need to clean house, and maybe I agree with CJ. The job should go to Eric Bieniemy, but I doubt if it'll happen. But in the NFL's defense, you did get another black head coach this past week with Los Angeles Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders.
Whoa, how about how
Dave,
about that? We just thought about that. Are we up to
and my man Davis cleaned house.
How about that?
Just like
I think they have a
Washington.
black female. I think they have a Raiders also have a black female president.
They
How
sure
about
did.
that?
Oh yeah.
How about
Oh
that?
yeah. So Al Davis, I guess he'll be persona non grata at the end of the year. They're going to be pissed off with him because he's kind of violated the code of the 32 owners.
You mean the son with the bad bowl haircut?
Oh yeah, yeah. But hey, he might have a bad bowl haircut, but
He's pushing the envelope. I like it.
he's pushing.
I
the
like
envelope.
it too.
He's pushing the envelope, and I like it. As far as Dallas, I think Dallas will do well going into the end of the year, and if Dakota keeps playing the way he's playing, I think they'll make the playoffs.
Okay. All right. So I think the question is, I'll throw it to Mr. Spivey. So if Dallas makes the playoffs and doesn't win a game, doesn't win a playoff game, do they keep their head coach?
I think he'll probably be gone, and it's going to be hard for him to justify his job simply because he got rid of his offensive coordinator. He went to Denver, and I think it was Kevin Lewis, and Kevin Lewis was a good offensive coordinator. He got rid of the offensive coordinator, and now he is calling the plays. So it's kind of hard to put the blame on anybody else except yourself when you are calling the offense, you're running the plays. But I understand that's what he did when he was at Green Bay, and he was successful, with what was the guy's Brett Favre, and so he's calling the plays. But if they don't win a playoff game, I think he may be gone. Who would replace him? I have absolutely no idea who they would even consider.
Well, you know
I
what?
know one thing for certain.
What's that?
Jerry Jones is not going to consider an African American head coach, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Hey, I wanted to throw one more piece out there before we switch topics again, but there are some rumors swirling in New England that the owner, Mr. Robert Kraft, is extremely upset about the fact that the Patriots have turned into a subpar team, and he's already looking for head coaches. And supposedly, the latest rumor I heard was Mike Vrabel out of Tennessee, because he played for the Patriots. And he's sort of like a Ron Rivera down there. I mean, I think he's about 7, 8, or 9 wins every year. He's like somewhere in the middle of the pack. So I'm not sure why that would be a super hire, other than the fact that he has ties to the Patriots organization. But we'll see. And I pray that Washington does not hire Bill Belichick in any capacity next year. Bill has had a great run. The run is over.
It's time.
It's time for him to retire. We need a nice young head coach in there. I prefer to get a head coach about the age of 40. So if he's great, he can coach for 20, 25 years if he wants to. You see how the Ravens did it? The Ravens hired Harbaugh back in 2005? He's been there 18 years.
Yeah.
And I think he's 60 now. He's 60 now. You don't hire somebody 60 or 70. And the Ravens right now are what? I think they've only lost 2 games. What are they? 7-2, 8-2.
The Ravens on the road.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot. And considering they paid Lamar Jackson a boatload of money, usually when you pay a quarterback a boatload of money, you don't have money to pay anybody else. So they have managed their cap well. They've managed their players well. They're still winning consistently every year. A bad season for them is 9 wins, 8 losses. maybe they don't make the playoff, but I don't think they've had. Have they had a losing season since
They
Harbaugh?
have not had a losing season, and I've said
Yeah.
over and over again, I don't understand why more people in Washington don't pull for the Ravens, because they always have a good team. They
Yeah.
have a good coach. They don't have all of that dissension at quarterback every year. There's never a quarterback controversy, but for some reason, they're just not as popular as the Washington Commanders or the Redskins or Washington team.
Well, Mr. Spivey, before we go, I just want to say, if you don't know, it's a cutoff. I lived in Baltimore for a number of years. I'm from DC. I'm from Prince George's County, but I lived in Baltimore for several years. And everyone in Baltimore will tell you, if you're in Laurel, you are south of the border. So if you're in Laurel, Maryland, you are south of the border. So it's literally like a cutoff. You got a few people in the middle of Howard County to go either way. Most of the Howard County people go Ravens. You see a couple of Washington jerseys up there in Howard County and Columbia or whatever. But pretty much if you're in Laurel, you're south of the border, for some reason, they just won't root for the Ravens. Just won't do it. Just won't do it.
Crazy.
Okay, it is crazy. All right, guys, where we going after this? We didn't talk about some college prime time. We didn't talk about some NFL. What is going on out there? Before we go, is there anything else in the sports world that's relevant before we get to some of the craziness that's happening off the field and off the court, like in the courtroom?
In the courtroom.
Oh, Lord, the courtroom. Uh-oh, it might be
CJ, you got any final sports topics?
I mean, I'm watching my parlays for basketball tonight. If there's any hoops you guys want to cover, the Wizards are one of the worst teams I've ever seen in my life. That's hilarious. They might go 10-72 this season. It is a special kind of bad. When I seen Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole running the fast break, Jordan Poole lobs the ball off the backboard, Kuzma dunks it. They cut the lead down to 19. Down at that point in the game. I've never seen such goofiness. Jordan Poole, I saw a tweet that says Jordan Poole plays basketball like he has car keys in his pocket. Like, I don't understand. He's so deeply unserious. Like I don't understand how he's not benched to like the moon. Like I would never play him for the shots that he takes. The Wizards, I think they've taken tanking too seriously. And surprisingly, they're winning right now, but like they've been giving up like 130 points a game or something like that. It's like the worst defense.
That's Globetrotter scores.
Yeah, this is a deeply.
CJ, I think it's safe to say, based on the Commanders' inconsistency, based on the Nationals just falling off a cliff after winning the World Series in 2019. Based off the Capitals declining every year since winning a Stanley Cup in 2018. Who do we have left? The Wizards?
We got a soccer team, right?
We got a soccer team. I have to check their record. But the DC Defenders right now are the best team in Washington for the USFL or XFL. I'm sorry. And our traditional teams of the Wizards, Commanders, Capitals, and Nationals just stink right now. I mean, there is no outlet. There is nothing to get happy about. We need to turn to college sports at this point and hope that the Maryland Terrapins in basketball can do something, because even the Maryland Terrapins in football have lost like 4 out of 5 games. And I think they got Michigan next week. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, we're down bad in the DMV right now. I'm gonna keep it real. It's 2 weeks into the Wizard season, and like most of the fan base is looking up draft picks. We're looking to see who the top prospects are, like who's gonna be at the top of this draft, because that's where we're gonna be for the next few years. So it's gonna be a rough rebuild.
Carlos, the thing to say is this is not something that's new. This has been going on for a while. I mean, you think about the dates that you called out, 2018. 2019, you're talking 4 or 5 years, and it's not something that's new, and it just continues and continues. I'm going to be interested to see what is going to really happen with the Washington Commanders, simply because Josh Harris, he owns the 76ers, and I think he owns a hockey team, and this guy is not known for having losing teams. So it's going to be interesting to see how he revamps the Washington Commanders football team, and whether they even keep that name Commanders. I know it doesn't sit well with you, Carlos. So they may even get rid of that. But it's going to be very interesting to see who becomes the head coach of the Washington Commanders.
I agree.
I guess we'll get out of the sports arena, and I guess the Washington Generals name is already trademarked, so they can't use that. Let's go into the courtroom.
Whoa!
Let's go into the election office. But what's happening in the courts, CJ? You've been following what's happening in the courts?
We're talking about Trump and his
the
charges,
crime family. I mean, the Trump family.
Yeah, I mean, he's what is there to cover? Like, I'm so frustrated. Like, yes, Trump has like 90 felony charges from like 3 different cases. Like, which case, which court? He's he's got so many with the insurrection. Are we talking about the Mar-a-Lago thing? Are we?
This is the Letitia James fraud trial in New York.
Yeah, is this the election fraud? He's got like several felony things going on.
He's got 91 felonies. Yeah.
Yeah, you actually literally have to be specific of which crime you're talking about because he's done so many crimes, which is crazy. Like and he's leading. I'm like, what is blowing my mind? What's blowing my mind is Trump is kicking Biden's ass in the polls right now, and it's getting worse. And I don't understand why we have how many people live in America? And these are the 2 choices that they're just like, it has to be this guy. It has to be 307-year-old Joe Biden or 97 criminal charges Donald Trump. And it's like, bro, like literally they did a poll the other day. Joe Biden was losing to Trump in every swing state by like 7 points. Like 7 points. That's a catastrophe. Then they put on the ballot generic Democrat. Generic Democrat won by like 5 points in every race. So they're literally, you could pick any generic Democrat, a D in a suit, just any guy. He could be an actor. He doesn't have to be, and that person would do better than Joe Biden in an election against Donald Trump. Like, what are we doing as a country, as a young like this? You wonder why young people aren't checked into anything. Like, what is happening? Like, why can we not even find a half respectable person under like 60 years old to run the country? What's going it's baffling to me. Well, it's not baffling why Biden's numbers are low, but it's just baffling that we don't have more choices and they refuse to have more choices. Now they're finally talking about within the party, maybe we should have Biden step aside because he's losing every poll imaginable and is one of the most unpopular presidents ever. And is hemorrhaging supports between Muslims and young voters even more with the whole genocide that he's kind of green lighting, which is not helping his numbers.
You know, CJ, as you so eloquently put it, I don't understand how this guy is leading either. I think there's a debate tonight. He's not even debating. He's not even participated in that one debate. And he's still leading in the polls. The only salvation I think that we can see coming out of this is these elections that were held yesterday. The Republicans got their ass kicked, and it was on that abortion stuff. And so hopefully in November, the Democrats can, put something together. But I agree with CJ. You got, as Cornel West said when he was on our show, he said, if you get Biden, I believe he said, you're going to probably end up in a nuclear war. And if you get Trump, you're going to probably end up in a civil war. He says, it's just which one do you want to be involved in? And then later tonight, before we went on, I heard U.S. fighter planes did some bombings earlier this afternoon. So it's really getting scary. But I want to just change the topic for a minute. I was listening to MSNBC a couple of days ago, and this was when Donald Trump was on the witness stand. From what I understand, he just crucified himself. He didn't need any help at all, but he normally does this anytime you put a mic in his face. But they were talking about that Letitia James and the prosecutors are going to have to prove intent with what he was doing. And it really troubled me when I heard that because, you know, I remember there was a situation years ago, and it was kind of, I think it was involved one of the Redskin players at the time. He bought a car, and he bought it at a real reduced rate. I can't remember. I think it was one of the ends or one of the flankers. And I recall them saying that, you know, if you buy an item, let's say 80-inch flat screen TV, and a guy comes up to you and says, hey, I got this 80-inch flat screen TV, and I'll sell it to you for $100. And you buy it, and you get busted. The assumption is you should have known or should have assumed that it was stolen because you can't buy an 80-inch flat screen TV for $100. Well, they were talking about during this Trump civil hearing, they were saying that they need to prove his intent. Well, I have a hard time understanding how when you live in a condominium in New York and it's 10,000 square feet, and you said it is 30,000 square feet, and you submit that to the bank, Carlos, you know I'm coming, I want you to comment because you're the bank. You submit that to the bank and you get a loan. What could be your intent if you triple or double your square footage? It's got to be that you're planning to defraud. So I don't see why there's such a difficult thing with proving Donald Trump's intent. And then the last thing that really troubles me is the guys on the other end who made the loan, these bankers and these finance people, they are basically getting a buy. And there was a lady that was interviewed, I think she was one of the builders, one of the people that did a lot of building in New York. And she said that there is not a condominium building in the state of New York that is 30,000 square feet a unit.
Well, let's just say it this way. From a banking perspective, all the bankers who dealt with Mr. Trump and the Trump organization knew he was full of you know what, but they wanted to keep their ties close to the once and future president. That's the way they see it anyway. And they didn't want to piss him off. They want to stay in his good graces. It was probably the quid pro quo thing going on, this for that. There's a lot of different things you can look at, man. I mean, Donald Trump seems to run things like the mafia. I mean, that's where, loyalty and, you do for me and I do for you. I mean, he pretty much has New York on lockdown. Who doesn't he know in New York? So it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, obviously, the only difference between him having to determine or having to prove intent is the fact that he's Donald Trump. An average guy goes up there and this case is over in record time. It's over the same day. They're going to drag it out. Like I said, they're going to try to drag out all his charges for the next 4 to 5 years until after he supposedly, they think he's going to win again. And based on what CJ's research, what we've been hearing, he just might. So I think a couple things we have to do. We have to realize a couple things, right? If you're a Democrat, you have to realize this. The Republicans have probably already realized this. Okay, and I'm glad the Democrats took it to the Republicans on the election night. But realistically, here's what we're looking at. There's only 2 things in the world worse than Donald Trump winning as president. Okay, in 2024. And this crosses all ethnic backgrounds. It crosses all lines. One is inflation. Can't have inflation. You can't have $7 carton of eggs. You can't have inflation on basic things and needs that people need. And it can't keep going up and up and up. If you do, you're not going to get reelected. Jimmy Carter didn't get reelected. I mean, that's going way back. I was in elementary school, but he didn't get reelected. No, it's not going to happen. Inflation, people hate inflation. If you keep inflation low, man, people might just roll with you, even though they don't like you, because you're keeping the price down. If you got to pay $30,000 for an economy car that costs $20,000, 5 years ago, and you got to get your kids, take care of your family, and get back and forth to work. You sort of hating Biden right now, man. Everything been going up. If you're trying to buy a house right now and you ain't never owned a house, and your payment was going to be $2,000, and now if you buy the house, it's going to be $2,500 or $2,600. You're hating Biden right now. So I don't know if he can survive inflation. Okay, that's one. The second thing is nobody likes death. Just when we thought shootings, mass shootings had reached a peak under Trump, they have increased under Biden. People are dying left and right. It's gotten to the point where you turn on the news and you're just waiting to see who got shot today. You can't have high taxes and a high death rate and expect to get reelected. And then you just, Mr. Spivey, you brought out the third thing, civil war or nuclear war. You're right. It's too much going on overseas with this involvement. Based on our history, as bad as civil war is, we probably can survive it. Nuclear war, we probably can't.
Right.
So at this point, it doesn't surprise me what CJ was saying, that Trump is still leading in the polls. So unless we get this thing figured out, and I think that's why probably the Democrats are at a point now where they're saying, hey, we got to maybe think about this, right? We got to think about maybe getting another candidate. Anybody see Head of State with Chris Rock back in 2004? That was a pretty funny movie. I mean, it's almost gotten to that where nobody has passed away in a plane crash. But at this point, things are pretty bad. I mean, again, you can't argue death and inflation. It either is or isn't. And it's happening at a rapid rate. It's happening at such a rapid rate. It's making me think like the first George Bush and the second George Bush weren't that bad. It's making me think, yeah, Trump was a complete jerk, but we didn't have as many deaths and we didn't have as much inflation. But he's a jerk. He's definitely a jerk. So it's like one of those things where people are like, and like CJ said, can we get a couple other candidates? I mean, why do we have to choose between these two? Can't we get somebody in their 50s? I mean, that sounds crazy, but the world's toughest job, people are trying to do it in their 70s and 80s. You could have a heart attack if you work too hard in the office in downtown DC or New York. This guy's going to try to work in the White House for 4 years and manage everything that's going on in the world. I don't know how. I don't know why. Maybe somebody smarter than me has the answer. That's my take.
Carlos, the only thing I'll say to you is where you're going to get them from. Because the politicians today, I mean, we saw it even in Washington, D.C. They couldn't even choose a Speaker of the House. And
Right.
Don't forget, in just a few weeks, you're going to have the debt coming back up. And they had already kicked that can down the road. So,
all right, CJ, give us some final thoughts before we duck out of here. What do you got on this, on the politics here in the election?
It's basically, like I said, where we were leading to before. Like I said, it's kind of unprecedented because we're in between a president who might be in jail, which is a constitutional crisis in itself. Can he serve from prison? Is that a thing that we're going to have to really think about? And if he gets in the White House, like many people pointed out, he ain't never leaving again. Like he tried to steal the election the first time. He ain't never let go of power if you let that man back in the White House. So then you got to talk about the peaceful transition of power being in question again. And I actually wrote an article on Black Men in America years ago predicting this exact scenario, that Joe Biden's presidency would go exactly like this. Like he's going to do the bare minimum and say, hey, I'm a little bit better than Trump because he's insane. But that's not enough to get rid of the corporate greed / inflation, all the other issues that were brought up. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't done jack about anything. He just will remind you that he's not Donald Trump. Like, hey, I'm a little bit better than the guy with 90 criminal charges. Like, that's great. But like, are you going to do anything else? And his answer was no. And again, that's what put him in peril. And it's more of the Democrats' refusal to even have a primary. If they just had a primary and had other candidates, that choices that people could choose from, they would be fine. Because again, polling shows that generic Democrat is doing better than Joe Biden. You could literally pick anybody at this point that is like not Joe Biden and maybe under 70, and you'll be good. Like that's automatic dub. You're going against Trump. But like they can't do it. And the same thing on the Republican side. They're going to have a whole debate talking about the most insane, unhinged things you've probably ever heard of. But when they're asked tonight, will you all vote for Donald Trump, even if he's in prison? Nearly every hand is going to fly up. They're all sycophants that aren't even serious in the slightest. So we have a lot of deep issues, but I think one of the main ones that we haven't touched upon was we have one of the biggest protests in Washington, D.C. for Palestine this weekend. We have some insane positions that our elected officials are taking, including the White House. The Republicans, as usual, much worse on this issue of the escalating tensions in the Middle East, as their position is Israel can bomb as many kids as they want. Go ahead, that's great. And the Democratic position seems to be a humanitarian pause, which is, hey, let's get some water and some food in, and then you can continue bombing the children, which is an untenable position, which is another reason that Biden has taken such a huge hit in the last couple of weeks specifically, because he needs those Muslim and Arab voters in a lot of those swing states that do not appreciate their family members being incinerated with American bombs and Biden not really doing anything to stop it, or even to rein in Netanyahu again, because we fund Israel, we fund the Iron Dome, we fund their entire military is propped up by us. We're probably the only people that could do anything to slow them down. And the fact that only a handful of our elected officials have come out for a ceasefire is really pathetic. And I think it's showing a big divide between the American people, again, and our politicians, as they're full throttle. We support Israel no matter what. And if you look at the death tolls, it's ridiculous. It's 10-1. They're slaughtering people in Gaza. It's this is a genocide and an ethnic cleansing by every definition, by the United Nations. Israel has admitted that they're bombing hospitals, they're bombing mosques, they're bombing markets. They're doing a medieval siege on millions of people, saying we're not going to allow food and water in to a civilian population. These are all war crimes, but because it's Israel, one of our crucial allies, we're just going to pretend like we don't see anything. And that's really, really something that voters now, with the technology we have, you can't lie us into another Afghanistan kind of situation like it was back in 2003, when we didn't have smartphones and TikToks and the amount of media coverage that we have now. So that's going to be a perpetual growing issue for Biden and the Democrats, and another issue where there's no win for the American people, because the Republican Party is actually worse on this issue than the White House, which has been horrendous.
Woo! Nice comment.
On that, we got some homework to do for our next show to keep up with all of this stuff. CJ, I thank you for coming on. Mr. Spivey, the banker man. For the Thought Brothers, I'm Gary Johnson, and we are out of here.
Have a good
All right.
one.
Great evening.
Happy holiday.